Hey there, everybody, and welcome. This is Taveau with Taveau DRC Creative Leadership. I'm going to talk today and discuss Levitical patriarchy and also any new move that's out there, black, white, and brown. So when my mother was a pastor's wife of Baptists, they didn't, call titles like women pastors or anything. That was okay. Nobody really cared, including myself. I don't really, didn't care to do this. I'll do what God says because the hour is desperate and late. Anyway, so one day, Mom, who is an exhorter, a teacher, a trainer, a Bible scholar like my dad and her family and his family, just collaborative and teammate ministry, getting along, family, happy campers and all that. No big I, little you, no slaves, drivers in the ministry or at home. It was a fun environment, a healthy environment than most. So anyway, out of the blue one day, or really several times in my teenage years, and Mom was not a prophet at all, she was a teacher. She said, for some reason, Taveau, out of the blue, Taveau, do you realize that when there's a move of God that's brand new, the move of God in place in ministry will start to be suspicious of it, accuse it, attack it, mock it, because they're afraid of it or they just don't understand it. However, this is what she said more than once. She said, when that move of God, the little one coming up, the next one comes up, and it gets approved, it gets its scholars, its Bible colleges, its teacher, now I'd say it's media these days, then that move starts to pick on the other new move that's coming up. And it's the same thing happens time after time. So that made a big impression on me, a strong one to teach. Don't kill the new move. You can have a lot of people saying that think they're the prophet of the day, don't touch God's anointed, and that's right. You don't want to touch any of God's anointed, male or female, white, black, or brown, that are in the pulpit, office, ministry, proclaim. But I saw for myself the dysfunction of the day many decades ago. Not my mom, not the Baptists, not black people, but I saw certain things in the charismatic movement about this hierarchy stuff and who's over whom stuff, submission, and I saw people attacking the new moves in the seats. And they could have been brown or black or white, but also it was also myself. It spawned, helped to build the foundational need to teach and train people not to be cruel and feel like you're victims. If somebody outshines you or knows more, as a different spin on their theology, and I can mean for black people, brown people, international, all kinds of things. I was never wanting to do this. I never needed to be women's lib. That was not me when it came out. I thought, why are they? Now I know, because I was out before here, sent to DFW to discover the huge effects of tribal Levitical patriarchism, tongue-talking or not, but this was charismatic and they weren't black. And I thought, now I know, because I'd never been scanned as a type. I'd never been witch-watched. I'd never been accused for showing up that you're the wrong gender. We only want white males that are in their, 20s. There's just racial bias out of that. There's age, gender, all this stuff. And I thought, now why would anyone who wants to go worship Jesus pay the price of taking the time, putting gas in the car, getting the kids ready, want to go hear Jesus who's loving, go to an advertised ministry that is dysfunctional, that thinks they are the world, they've seen it all, they can read your mail, and you're dehumanized, targeted, and disrespected, and defiled as an office defiled. So I'm teaching that here's what I've said for decades, at least 2 decades. Since the late 90s when this started, Levitical patriarchy started to get the high horse. High society, all right. I was never sent but to respect people and pray for them and to train from what I learned. All right, so back in the day, I was getting in the 90s after I'd been to Florida and before Dallas and even Virginia and South and North, for the study, Tulsa and everything. I would see good and bad and this. So back in the day, I was making my teaching. I thought, well, let's teach on how to be respectful when people come through and there's a new move. So my teaching is right now, that this is just the rough draft. God gave me this in Dallas before I came up here, that the move that's in place whenever is just a rough draft for the next move. And you can tell already there's new stuff coming around right now. We want it to be organic and healthy, not a diatribe, not fighting and being like a cult spirit. So then the other part of that would be to train people to do that. Your ministers under you, they're the ones at the grassroots are the most thorny, ornery, biased, and what? Privileged, I guess. So let's be careful, not all. It depends upon if it's the remnant, if their heart or not, or if it's about the cult, their money or whatever. It makes a big, but they're the front lines. So when I'm looking at, here's the teaching. All right, let's say there have been past historic moves. We honor the good qualities in everyone, every race. We honor the ones that are in presently elevated and seen and helping us. We honor the office of the pastor, the mothers and fathers of the generational moves. I do that. I've always done that. We don't pray against them or target them. We respect them and train good doctrine if you think they're off. Learn from both, good and bad. But then there's another move that's why I'm intergenerational. I'm cross-ethnic and cross-cultural, but also cross-generational. I think young. I come from that, my family, by God's mercy, and I think young. I think, all right, now what's the next move that's younger than me, and then younger than them? And then coming up from the nursery, what are they got on them from the Lord? Are we going to teach them bias? Are we going to teach them disrespect? Are we going to teach them hoity-toity with no love, no servant leader? I don't know. This is what our choices are right now. If this group right now that owns it all, especially the book of Acts, if this group allows America and the churches and the ministries to have a new move without singing our side, we are the way, the truth, and the life, which is what we have met, and this is why we're teaching. It causes conflict, confusion. It's not even in the Bible to be turf guarding or your kind only or celebrity. It is for community. Ephesians 4, cross-body unity. One size does not fit all, but you have to know how to do it without PC, compromising, lambasting, Bible thumping, accusing, Levitical patriarchy, witch watching, character assassination, the 2 Timothy 3, 1-5, untrustworthy fellowship. From such turn away, Paul commands as escape clause to give us relief if we're stuck around that targeting false teaching or bad fruit, bad character. 2 Timothy 3, 1-5, teach it. I've lived this. I really have. More than really often, 50 times or 5,500 times in the last 50 years, But it wasn't until the 90s, the late 90s on up. The next part is train the other from such turn away fellowship that Paul writes as a command to leaders. He says if they think they talk big, they're really skilled, but they say you're not blessed because you don't have money, get out. That's where we're out. This is dysfunction at the bottom line, where it hurts people, good people. On my journey of studying the body of Christ and leadership from age 24 till now, called and commissioned by the Lord, over time, as an embed, not famous, it was to know what the people think and what they have to deal with from the fruit of the ministry, both Christian, normal, natural, celebrity, media, and then you could see a difference. And he said, I want you to know the doctrine, the lifestyles. I want you to know their pet, red flags, buzzwords, their worship. One day I'll have you build bridges of community, and that's what we're doing. Bridges of understanding. So we're pro the leaders. We're just against the faults, the accusation, the bias, the deliberate targeting, and false religion, a cult. Oh my gosh. And bias and privilege. No. One size does not fit all. Jesus is the Messiah. That's the one. God bless.